This is Robert Littal from BSO Entertainment, and I have the pleasure of to be speaking. Uh, and I don't even, I'm a little awestruck, when I read about your story, Anthony. So it's really a pleasure of mine to be able to speak to you about the movie Unstoppable. I really appreciate you taking, out the time to speak with us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on today. It's an honor.
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to ask you is it was quite a journey from when your book was released in 2014 to the actual movie, getting ready to come out and everything. It's been kind of a 10-year journey, kind of different situations have happened. There was a strike, all type of things. How did it actually feel once this movie was actually released and you got to kind of see your story, on the big screen?
Yeah, I think you said it. That was kind of one of the funny things that Billy Goldenberg, our director, and Jarrell started to say. He said, the process of making this film was unstoppable. So many delays, so many things that popped up, but to be able to see the finished product, how it turned out, with such an amazing cast, with so many amazing individuals who came together as a team to tell our story, it's an honor because this is something that it's not only my story, it's my mom's, it's my siblings, and this is going to be around for generations for our family. So to have it be something we're proud of, it's truly a blessing. So I could not be happier right now, to be honest with you.
Now wrestling is such a physical sport. It's such a strategic type of sport. When you decided that you wanted to get into this, your mindset going into it, I just would like to know because if I twist my ankle, I'm like, I'm gonna stay in the house all day. It, you know. Having the situation it is, but wanting to do something so difficult, can you just tell people what's the mindset of overcoming something and not even feeling like it's a disability and you can do it at the highest levels?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of things. First thing, my mom, she always used to tell me, you never let your challenge become an excuse. So growing up, me being born missing a leg, it wasn't a big deal in our household. And she always used to just teach me to figure things out. It was never that I couldn't do something. It was just, okay, how can I move the pieces around? How could I change things to my benefit so that I could do it? And so when I got into wrestling, that's how I approached being on the wrestling mat. How can I do this? How can I shape things around to work in my benefit? And, I think, God made me stubborn, so I hated losing out there, and it was a tough sport. But I'd walk away from every single match and every practice thinking, okay, what can I do differently? And on top of that, I was blessed with support. My high school coach, Bobby Williams, in a lot of ways, he echoed my mom's voice on the wrestling mat. He would tell me, we're going to focus on your strengths and we're going to camouflage your weaknesses. He said, everyone's focused on what you don't have and what you can't do. He says, we're going to focus on what you do have, on what you can do. We're going to build a style around that works for you. And that's really what it was creating this whole unique style of wrestling that would work for me. And really, in order to do that, it was just a trial and error thing. I'd go out there on the wrestling mat and I'd come back and he'd have notes for me. It's like, this is working, this isn't. Let's try this instead. And so it was just finding answers to the question every single time I stepped on the mat.
What was it like for you? I look at this cast, Jarrell, Bobby, Michael Pena, Don Cheetah, Jennifer Lopez. I mean, come on. It's like such an incredible cast that is telling, your story. Such incredible actors and actresses. What was it like when you finally got that last, like, these are the people that are going to be, telling your story? And what was it like, to meet them and tell them and talk to them and help, create your vision of what you wanted the movie to be about?
I was blown away when I heard about the cast and just who was coming on board to tell our story. It was just amazing. And the first time I met them, I was very intimidated. I was very nervous, but just to see how each and every one of them was so excited about telling my story and also just so committed to telling it in an authentic way. Every single one of them, everyone that you listed, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, all of them, they took the time to get to know those individuals, the real individuals in my life, to spend time with them, to capture those little details that made them them, to make it as authentic as possible. And with a star-studded cast like that, they could have easily just gone however the way they wanted to, but they were committed to making this our story, and telling it from their eyes. And so when I watched this film, it's neat because like, yeah, that's Don Cheadle, that's Coach Charles right there. Michael Pena, that's Bobby Williams, Jennifer Lopez. Wow, she nailed my mom. And I'm just grateful for that, because it was all them. It was just their determination to make my family proud of this story and how it was told.
I one of the things that I found interesting about the movie is when I watch sports movies, obviously, the sports aspect of it, the dramatic part of it, is always interesting. But in the really good sports movies, the family dynamics, the personal life dynamics, I think as an individual, like, I never, wrestled, but I can certainly relate to having step parents, and overcoming challenges with your mom or your dad. I felt that part of the movie was so strong. And I think people that really, even if they are not so much into sports, could
Mhm.
relate to your journey just from a family aspect of it. So was that important to make sure they got as much part of the movie as the actual wrestling part?
Absolutely. And that was one of the biggest concerns from the get-go was we wanted this more than just to be just a wrestling movie, just a sports movie. We wanted this to be a family movie. We wanted people to just walk away from seeing this film inspired and be able to relate to certain things. Because I think in life we can all relate to challenges. I wrestled on the mat and people will see that, but I also wrestled off the mat, with family challenges. My mom wrestled through challenges. And so we wanted to be able to tell all those stories in a way that people could understand the pain we went through, the challenges that we went through, and relate to it and also say, take away in their lives, say, you know what? They got through it, so can I. I can get through what I'm dealing with right now. So that was very important to us to just tell everything, our vulnerabilities and our weaknesses and our pain to inspire people to overcome what they're wrestling in their own lives.
One thing I noticed, and I'm sure this happened in real life, when you kind of first step on that mat, there's this look, from the opponents. Some, maybe like, oh, this is going to be easy work. Others are like, how's this going to work? But then in the end, there's a level of respect there. How important was it for you, um, by the time that you would win or lose? That individual or the people that were watching the audience was like you said, you wasn't even thinking of the fact that oh, my leg is. This was a good match, win or lose, and how you think that may have affected people when they see others like that, not in just in the wrestling part, but just outside in real life.
Mhm. That was extremely important to me. It was interesting just, whether it was stepping into the wrestling room, onto a new team for the first time or on the mat against new competition for the first time, there was always that look, I was like, okay, I'm afraid to hurt him. Is he made of glass or is he serious? How can I go about this against him? But as soon as the ref blew that whistle, as soon as coach said wrestle, I was giving them 100%, and I wanted them to see that I would be right there alongside them or right there in front of them, giving them everything that I had. And I wanted to earn their respect in a way, just to show them, it didn't matter what I didn't have. I wanted them to see me in the way that I saw myself, that the way my mom saw me. It doesn't matter what I didn't have, it mattered what I had. What mattered what I was able to do with what I had. And I hope that people take that away as well. And also just that personal reflection. It doesn't matter what the world thinks about you, says about you, defines you. What matters about what's you. Whether it's positive or negative, it ends with you and your thought process. And just to show people who you truly are, what you can truly do. And also shed some light on, just people who are dealing with physical challenges, because like I dealt with growing up and still do on a regular basis. Sometimes it's, people see me for what I can't do or for what I don't have, instead of just, let me show you what I can do. Let me show you what I have because I've lived my life in a way to where I see it like a puzzle. I can always find the right pieces. Just give me time. I'll figure it out, and I'm grateful just to be able to have that opportunity to share that story so people can learn and take away from it.
And a big part of the movie, besides your family, like you talked about briefly, was the coaches, and how the coaches affected your life and your journey and their belief in them. And I know you do motivational speaking and you talk to a lot of people around the country. Just how important do you feel like, especially now in youth sports, these coaches that grab someone in high school, even grade school, elementary school, that may have challenges outside of school, and they take the time to get to know these kids and help them kind of grow. And actually, especially for the African American community, at times where they're coming from maybe some difficult situations as well. How did you want to make sure those coaches were portrayed to show how important they are to kids?
And that was huge for me. My coaches are still are like father figures to me. In addition to motivational speaking, I'm also a high school wrestling coach. And so, I'm checking in with my high school coach, Bobby Williams, and getting advice for him and tips still. But those men, they still help me in my life today. They still give me advice today. And that's crucial. I believe with this generation coming up with the different pressures that they have, a coach is a very important role. It can be a very impactful role, positive or negative. So I just want to encourage coaches out there to really just take the time to get to know your kids. Take the time to go out of your way to find what motivates them. Every athlete is different. Every kid on your team is different, and how you reach them, whether it's verbally or just being there in the room supporting them, because sometimes you don't know what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis at home, but you just being there for them, you just showing that you care and you're there for them every day, it could make all the difference like it did for me, and that'll change their life forever. They'll always think back to you and credit you for helping them over a speed bump in their life.
Well, I appreciate you once again taking the time out. Such an amazing story, and I'm glad that people are not just going to the movie theaters and seeing that it's going to be on streaming as well, where millions and millions of other people can stream it. Obviously, your journey and all the people that you've touched, I'm sure is in the millions, now, and hopefully it will be even more. So, thank you so much. You have such a positive attitude. You have such a good energy, about you, and you can read that off of people. And I know you're going to continue to be successful in everything that you do. So thank you so much for taking out the time.
I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for talking with me.
All right.